Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Vamily Show, the very awesome family show. Today, I have with me Kathleen Ho. She is the author of Living Forward After Loss, and you can find all her information at livingforwardafterloss.com. And she's here with me to talk about her book today, and also about her in general and how she got there. So I kind of wanted to know what was your reasoning and why did you decide to write the book in the first place?
It happens because at the loss of my husband, he passed away on August 2015. He left me behind.
Right.
The first 2 years, I thought I couldn't survive, and somehow I did. And after I recovered from the loss, I realized I must do something to help other people in the same situation.
Yep.
Before I decided to write a book, I want to share my story with other people who are in the same situation, that their own ways tomorrow. Don't ever give up. Life's still beautiful, even we had lost somebody in life. Life's still beautiful. That's my message to the world.
That's a good message to have, because there's a lot of people, especially with COVID and everything, that want to give up, and they should know that there's people out there that care about them, and they shouldn't give up on life, even if it's tough right now. And what would you suggest for people that have experienced loss, especially of a loved one they're close to them, like their partner and stuff like that? What are some things that they can do to help out and make it a little bit easier situation to get through and not get over, because you're always going to miss that person. You're always going to have that person in your heart, but to be able to start to live again.
I think the first time you have to acknowledge your feeling, accept that I feel sad, frustrated, and accept that you're feeling. Just like when you got sick physically, you have to know what happened to your body. Right. And may that doctor give you a hidden medicine for you, because you have so much ache. It's some medicine for you. Your head is some another medicine. So must you know how you're feeling and why. And by that, you're looking for your inner strength inside your, and here, what can I do to overcome that? Like my case, when I lost my husband, I thought, that's it. My life was over. He was my everything. But I realized that, yes, I lost him. I feel sad. But life still goes on. And every day, when I feel sad, I had to write out my feeling on the paper, the journal. I let it out. I don't hold it. And eventually, I find the strength to get up. So acknowledge your feeling and find the strength to fight back, to get back in your own feet.
Right. And acknowledging those feelings can sometimes be the hardest part, because it brings up that feeling of loss again when you have to acknowledge the feelings. And I'm guessing that journaling that you did, that's what you took and kind of helped turn into the book that you wrote. And how has that book been received? And have you had anybody write and tell you that it's helped you out or helped them out with the loss they're going through?
I wrote a book. First, I doubted myself. I thought, how could someone read the book? Write a lady who English is her second language. I doubted myself. I said, no way, no one can read that. However, after I gave her my friend, she is a English teacher. They said, it's possible if you keep rewrite. Someday someone will read your book. And I did. I rewrite 11 times. And after 11 times, it got better, and I turned in my manuscript to the university publisher, and they accepted it right away.
Right. And you said English is the second language for you.
Yes.
What is your first language, and where are you from?
My first language is Vietnamese. I came to US in 1994 when I was 25 years old. So actually, I started to learn English when I 25 years old.
And how was it? I'm gonna guess it was Vietnam was where you came from, since it was Vietnamese that it was your language. How was it growing up in that country, and how does that compare to over here, the two countries?
It kind of two different words, which is Vietnam at the moment when we were very poor.
Mm.
And because and they didn't treat us very well because related to my family history. I couldn't go to college. I couldn't
Wow.
government. And after
Wow.
high school, my life just over. I had to work in any job and to feel whatever to survive. So that's why when I came to US, I feel I had a second chance to come back to survive. That's why I didn't never allow me to give up. I didn't even, my life is so difficult at the beginning. I had to learn English. I had to work to survive. I work full time, what you call it full time, but I thought, this is the land of opportunity. I could not allow myself to give up.
Right. And it's hard. I think it's hard for us that are born here and lived here all our lives to understand how lucky we are to be born here. And I talk about all the time. You're lucky just to exist, and then you're it's like you win the lottery by being born in the United States on top of it, especially at this time in the world history. Is there one thing that you miss from the country that you left?
What I miss is I left behind all my family, my uncle, my aunt, my cousin, and my high school friends. That's what I left behind.
Do you still stay in contact with any of them?
Yeah, we do. We still, my family, my mom, my sister still come sometimes to come back to visit my aunt. And myself, I still keep talking to my friend from Facebook, but when I'm still in Vietnam, I still keep contact with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing a lot of the stuff that has to do with where you couldn't really do stuff after high school, and your family history maybe have to do with the Vietnam War that went on, and
Yeah,
your
that's
family
true.
being on one side of it.
Yeah, that's true. Because my dad, he was the officer of the government that related to U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
So when the company took over, they consider my family as like bad, like enemies.
Right.
That's
Right.
why they put like, you cannot do anything because you are our enemy, something like that.
Right. And I had an uncle that was over there, and my dad was a drill sergeant during the time, and training troops to go over there and help out. And it's one of the wars that I think is sad that had to happen on all sides of it in the first place.
Yes.
And is there anything that you learned from your time there that made you want to come to America when you were able to?
I just learned as I could not have a future in my country. So that's why when I heard that American government sponsored my family, I was so excited.
Right.
And I will have the hope again for life. I had a chance to do what I want to do because I really love go to school. I'm an A student in high school.
Right. And that's one thing that I think is great about our country is you're free to dream and do what you want. And you're sitting here as an author of a book, and I'm sure back in high school that you couldn't dream of yourself sitting in America having written a book, and now you're talking to different people all the time about your book. It was a sad reason why you wrote it, but it's probably still an amazing thing that you're sitting here now doing it. What is the hardest part about writing a book? Because I've never written one. So what is the hardest part about writing a book?
As for me, it has it as when I write a book, I had no idea how to do that. I keep thinking. The more I thought, the more I got confused.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I decided to put any idea I got in my mind on the paper and keep writing. And the more I wrote, the more the picture become clear to me. And finally, somebody said, I know the book's supposed to be. So I know that to write a book, you just have to do every day. You have to do it. Don't wait. Don't wait the right moment. It's not the right moment. You have to write it every day. To put yourself doing that.
Right. And you also want to be a public speaker, and
Yes.
so I heard that you listen to a lot of different public speakers. But what is it that makes you want to do public speaking? Is it so that you can share this story with as many people as possible?
Yes. You're right. I want to share my story to honor my husband's life, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to make difference in other people's lives. After losing my husband, I realized life is so short and limited. We never know what happened to us tomorrow. Maybe we die tomorrow. We never know.
Right. Right.
That I'm thinking I had I had to make my life become so meaningful. And that's why I want to make different in other people's life. I want to share my story. I want to motivate people to live better, happier. That's my
Yeah.
message. Yeah.
And I think you have an incredible story, letting people know. I didn't have any options where I was from. I had to go to another country. I had to learn another language. And now you're writing a book. I'm sure you're going to write other books as well. I'm sure that was just the first one that out of all the stories that you have to tell, that's just the first one that you have to tell. And you're also been a special education teacher. And so is there things that people that of the students that you taught doing the education that you have, is there any of those students that have gotten to you and made you think differently about things, maybe touched your life in a way that has changed the way that you have thought?
Actually, I'm not working on special ed student, kind of special, but not really special ed. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
manager. I work with this group of students, and they have very special story. And I learn a lot from my student. I remember one day, when my student graduated, he came to hug me to say, "Thank you so much, Miss H." They call me Miss H by my first letter, my last name. You touched my life. You inspire me to work harder to graduate because listen to your story. I know
Wow.
I'm so lucky, so I had to find my back. So my
Wow.
students give me a lot of listen to every day. I really love them.
So they're like a blessing to you then, to make you never forget, where we're, because it's so easy. I'm sure you've even noticed too how easy it is to get wrapped up in life around here and
Yeah.
forget that how lucky you are just to be here sometimes, and the hard life that a lot of people in other countries live.
Yes.
Um, is there things about is there anywhere that you'd like to travel in the country that you haven't been to yet?
I went to Europe last year. I really want to visit New York, Washington D.C. I had never changed to visit that city. I really love to see the White House.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to go this year, but the COVID, I could not go.
Right.
It's that maybe next year.
Yeah, I've never been to Washington D.C. yet. I want to go just to see it, and
Yeah,
that's part of the reason that I want to travel, because there's so many things in this country to see
yeah,
that when I was a truck driver for years that I didn't get to stop and see, and I just would see from the side of the road. And so there's a lot of places that I want to stop and see. Um, your book that's out, how long did it take you to write the book?
it took me about 2 years because it's really difficult. Sometimes I could not write it because my emotion stopped me.
Mhm.
sometimes I just wrote and the tears just come out at the same time because when I wrote this, it seemed I still up an emotion in my pain. I hide it
Right.
and they come out and I couldn't write this. I keep crying.
It was probably like reliving it over and over again.
Yeah, it's been over that. But I could put myself, you have to do it, you have to do that. But after I finished this, I realized I become much stronger than before. I never thought I'm so strong like that. I never thought. If you asked me 5 years ago, I could never think I can write a book. If you ask me, say, no way, don't ever. I couldn't do it. But now I realize that if you keep push your mind in something and keep doing that, someday you will meet your goals. You reach that your goal someday for sure. So don't ever give up. Just know what you really want and devote your time, efforts, and talent on that.
That's good advice. That's good advice.
Yeah.
What are some things that as a writer that you would suggest to people to do if they want to write a book? What are some good tips to putting a book together, at least that helped you out?
I think if you want to write a book, you must know very well about the subject you write about. You need to do some research, study about it. Like myself, I have read so many books about giving, about psychology, about a lot of books relate to my subject. And after that, I will have to summarize what I learned and I connect with what I know. You need to know very well and you have to put your heart on this if you want people to love it.
Right. I think that's good advice for anything that you do. Is if you got to put your heart into it and love what you do. Because if you don't love what you do, it's gonna seem like work no matter what it is that you're doing.
Yes.
And speaking of work, is there any interesting jobs that you had that were that you'd never want to do again? Maybe that you had to do.
Yes, one job I swear I will never do again. That's working in the right field to survive.
Wow.
That's what we did. I did after high school. I had to work in the right field with my dad, with my mom to survive for 6 years before we came to US. I will never do it again.
That makes me look at rice in a whole different way, and it's stuff like that, like where that's the job that you had to do because you couldn't really do anything else, and stuff like that. It makes me really start to look at what I buy and stuff in this country because I don't want to, and it's a hard situation because I don't know if I should buy it to support the people that are out there working because that's the only job they can get, or if I shouldn't buy it so that maybe they're able to do something else because that's not the job they can do. So that's the kind of dichotomy, the kind of which choice do you choose situation. And you probably experienced that over here too, like since you know what kind of conditions are over there when you look at labels and stuff like that, does that weigh on your decisions on what to get?
Yes, you're right. That's the reason. Yes, that's the reason that I have worked very hard since I came to US because I experienced a very difficult time when I was young. So I know that if anything happened to me right now, nothing compared to what happened to me back to Vietnam. I'm lucky to live in America. I'm very lucky to have opportunity to follow what I love to do. I had the freedom. I didn't have freedom in my country. I had in here. That's the one I value the most in the country.
Yeah, and I can tell like your demeanor is completely probably different than what it was over there because and for people that never experienced not having their freedom for whatever reason, just being able to go outside and walk down the street whenever you want or say the things that you want without having to worry about things is a huge freedom that most of the world and for most of history didn't have the ability to do.
Yes.
And so that's one thing that I like I say, you win the lottery if you're born here, and like you say, you feel so lucky to be here. And I think people coming here like you that are understand how precious the freedom is, and understand all that stuff. That's very powerful for our country to have. And I have ancestors that came over from Russia that were escaping persecution over there. And so I know that I'm lucky to be here as well. And they took risks to come here. And I'm so happy that you decided to come on the show and talk with me about the book. What are some tips for people that are dealing with the grief? Like they've been through their grieving period, and they still they can't seem to get past it and start living again. Are there some mental health tips that maybe you can help them out with dealing with the loss in your book?
We need to know that life is about the choice. We cannot stop that, but we have a choice how to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
You must remember that life is very short. So if you let the pain or the sorrow control your life, you will ruin your life and people around you. But if you have the courage to stand up, to look at your pain and deal with that, someday you will find happiness again.
Yeah.
It's not easy at all, I know. But you keep trying, and remember, you are lucky to be alive. And you do with the pain, many what you can do. For me, the better way to do is exercising. Whenever I feel sad, I feel sorrow, I just run. I just ran until 1 hour or 2 hours until I could not bear anymore. Because when I exercise, I feel good. And eventually, I got strength to come back in life. And also lean on other people. The family who will support you, lean on them. It took one day at a time, but remember, you have to keep moving. That's my suggestion for people.
Okay, keep on moving, no matter what, and do so physically. Get out there and exercise.
Yeah.
I think you're an amazing individual, and I'm sure because I've shared things on my channel that I've dealt with and have struggled with. I'm sure just it's a freeing feeling once you were done with the book, and felt like it put a good note on something that is a horrible thing to have happen, and that's the loss of a partner like that.
Yes. Do you mind? Let me close the window because my neighbor closed the music. It's very loud. Let me close.
Well, I was gonna tell you I was gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna play the credits.
Yeah.
And thank you for being on. And I tell everybody, stop waiting for life to happen and make life happen. And you made life happen by coming over here. So come back with me. I'm going to play the credits, and then we'll talk a little bit more afterwards. And everybody else that's watching, remember to, like I said, stop waiting for life to happen and make it happen. And you can live life again, even after loss. So,
be proactive.
Be proactive. There you go. There's your last word. Be proactive.
Yeah, that too.
Yep.
Come on, children.